With the Resident Evil 4 Remake Separate Ways DLC coming out, there's been a lot of speculation as to what is next for the Resident Evil franchise. Most people thinking it will be a Resident Evil 5 remake, most wanting a Resident Evil Code Veronica X remake, and some weirdos like me wanting a Resident Evil 1 remake. Now, as far as if I think the remake will happen, I don't know, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. Today I want to talk about how new, or rather, how modern is too modern for a remake. Now, I would argue that Resident Evil 4 still looked good enough. Like, there were other games in the franchise that needed, like, I would say Resident Evil 5 needed a remake more than Resident Evil 4 did. And yet we still got the Resident Evil 4 remake. They did 2, they did 3, they did 4. Naturally, they would go to 5. And 5, like, I think it does need a remake. 5 needs a remake. That would be the most logical. But, like, is it too new? You know what I'm saying? It still holds up. It still looks good. But let's just say they did. Let's say they continued the train of releasing a remake, or at least announcing one, at least every, like, 2-3 years, okay? That would mean after Resident Evil 5 Remake came out, Resident Evil 6 would be next. Now, I think we can all agree, we may not like Resident Evil 6. I personally like Resident Evil 6. I don't mind it. But I know a lot of people do not like Resident Evil 6. And that's fine. But I think we can all agree that Resident Evil 6 looks fantastic. It still looks good. It still holds up. The mechanics are smooth, fluent. There's plenty of game modes, difficulties, dogs. I mean, there's all sorts of unlockables and stuff you can do in Resident Evil 6. And it still looks good, still holds up, still plays well. The story might be ass, according to some of you all who can't handle change. But I still think it looks good. And this begs the question, we're going to get to a point of, now, of course, we can expect a regular, like a new in the timeline Resident Evil game, like Resident Evil 9, before we can expect a Resident Evil 6 remake. But the problem is, eventually, like, will there be a point where you can only make a game look so good? Something like Resident Evil Village, eventually it will get a remake, right? But how could you possibly currently make Resident Evil Village look better than it already looks? There will be a point in time, assuming graphics can infinitely get better, there will be a point in time where Resident Evil Village gets its own remake. Or will there? Will graphics max out at some point? Will games begin to look too good, or rather, so realistic that there's literally nothing else they could do to make it better? And then every game that comes out from that point on will just forever look as new 100 years later as it looked the day it came out. But that was just a little thing I was thinking of. I also really quickly want to say that thank you all for the support on the channel recently. It's been absolutely insane. I didn't really expect this, honestly. This is, I got 100 watch hours in the last 28 days and 5.4 thousand views, all off of videos, barely any shorts, which means the world to me. YouTube has always kind of been my dream, and even if this doesn't go anywhere, it's still just, it makes me feel good to know that my YouTube is going somewhere besides in the dirt. But yeah, that's all for me. I would love to hear what you guys think about this, and I will see you all in the next video. We will be doing Code Veronica in the near future, so stay tuned for that. Peace, everybody, and have a great night.